Welcome to the AGC podcast. If you don't know us already, the Akuta Group of Companies is a British interior design collective with a portfolio of 6 international award-winning design brands. I'm your host, Tori, and in this pod we'll be revealing exactly what it takes to build a global design collective that works in some of the world's most exclusive postcodes. You'll meet the talented individuals behind each brand, as well as the many interesting people that have joined us along the way. Stay with us to hear more about how we got here, where we are going, and how we plan on being a force for good in this world of possibilities. So today we have the wonderful Dee and Bella joining us, who make up the creative brainchild behind the Tagli, which I have to admit, Dee, I think you corrected me recently because since I've known you as a company, I was shamelessly using English pronunciation and saying the word how it's spelled. So I was calling it the Tagli until you corrected me. So have I got there yet?
I think your pronunciation is now perfect.
Great.
And it's a great word, but it's also a little playful. So yeah, we like that.
It's nice how it's sort of a bit more interactive because people sort of have to get it right, or it's something you can talk about at least, isn't it?
Yes.
Conversation starter.
Yeah, exactly. So we're here, or you're here today, to talk about a topic that is sort of, everyone has some sort of opinion on it. I think most people have been moved by art or have some emotions towards it, whether it's good or bad. Everyone has felt something towards a piece of art before in their life. But before we delve into who you are and what you do, we need to get to the drink stage. So what have we picked today?
We picked some bubbles, just classic bubbles.
Nice, yeah. Was there a bit of back and forth into what we were going to choose?
Absolutely. I think, it's just like design and art. There's so many beautiful choices out there.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great podcast. We love it. We love you guys. So it's a moment to celebrate. And what's
Exactly.
best
Yes.
to actually choose a glass of bubbles.
Cheers then.
Cheers.
I think that's the only thing we can do.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on. Can you give us a little intro into what you do at the Tagli?
Absolutely. So the Tagli is an art advisory business where what we're trying to do, we're trying to help individuals, whether they're seasoned collectors or they're new into collecting, and companies that we work with, interior designers, architects, or sort of institutions, to source the right artworks for them, whatever the brief may be, the budget, or the location of the work. So we are almost sort of, the people who will advise you what to buy, from when, and the right strategy to it. Just because I think the art world is quite fragmented, it's really difficult to get to. And us having been in the field for quite some time, we can assist people to make a safe choice.
Yeah. And so could you give the listeners a little bit more into who each of you are, just so we've got a better understanding of the personalities behind the name as well?
Yes. Ladies first.
Thanks. I'm Bella, and I have more of a background in art. So I have an education in art. I'm a painter by trade. So I guess me and Dee come into this business from two very different sides of the art world, which I think is quite nice. Do you
ever try and get your artwork in on the studio?
Not yet. We'll see. There might be a bit of that down the line.
Definitely. You need to put that in there.
No, I've got so many friends who are great artists, and the way that I see the beauty of this business is giving other people the opportunity to see great art that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to, and being a connector in that way.
Definitely.
But then having the expertise of someone like Dee, who's had so much experience in the market. Yeah.
So Dee, give us a bit more.
Absolutely. So I'm a little older than Bella, just a touch, and I've worked in terms of advise key collections. I work with auction houses in terms of bringing to market key pieces, primarily European art and contemporary art, from the States, Asia, and Australia. And what I've actually sort of managed to do is just simply understand how the art market actually works and how we can actually help people to navigate it. And with me, my role, at a later stage, I went back to uni and I retrained in curation and contemporary art. I'm able to sort of, advise on the right work for them that will actually pay dividends in terms of both aesthetics as well as how they will actually really, really enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, it has to be enjoyable. So it's a nice marriage between the two of us because you have the young creative individual, which is Bella, and it comes from a really, really good school and a great network of artists. And one of our key values is to support these artists. And for me, that's someone who is already established and has a network of galleries and dealers and auction houses to source the right work for someone who perhaps sort of trying online or trying their own, they might not be it's not that easy to actually find the right work for their collection or their brief.
Well, I have to say, because we've obviously worked with you guys since you've been up and running, and you've just got such a good energy between you both. It's just a really nice working relationship as well. So you've definitely found something unique in working together.
I think I've been super lucky because Bella brings an incredible energy, energy into it. So yes, and it's not the champagne.
How many glasses have you had already?
Just one.
We had lunch before this, and we had a bit too much fun.
So, what would you say is the value of art in interior design?
I think the value of art in interior design is it's another layer of storytelling. Again, there's no right or wrong answer in terms of what art is, but I think what interior design for us is and how we actually see it, and working with great companies like yours, you're advancing the lifestyle of an individual. So it's the aesthetic way of actually making them feel better, whether they work better, whether they actually work, they live better and so on. I think you're a well-being agency that help people aesthetically and visually and ergonomically at the same time. Where we come, we actually help people to view the world above and beyond the aesthetics in a different way. We give them a window to see something different. And that window is, and that's what we really, really believe, that window is not a set window. It's not what the artist intended or what was created, but it's actually a mirror. What do you see when you see work? A color, an emotion, a feeling. What are the key ingredients that actually make a work advance, your design, advance, people's experience and so on. So that's why we thoroughly love working with you, because I think that sort of philosophy is there, is the advancement of the interior space, but yet the opportunity to allow it to become fully bespoke in terms of the experience and the emotions that people want to live and experience with each other.
Definitely. I think art can sometimes be so overlooked, can't it? But actually it makes the space feel so much different, or it just has, it just changes the way when you walk into a space, how you feel. So it's so essential for our industry, but I think a lot of people sort of overlook it slightly and not put too much importance on it. So obviously you can buy artwork online. What are the benefits of using art curators like you guys and getting you involved on interior home or a project as well?
I mean, I think the benefits are our network, to be honest. The access that we have to so many different artists, but so many different collectors and curators. We know what's going on. I mean, as Dee said, it's so exclusive, the art world, and it can be really daunting to enter into. We can kind of forge a path to find what you want amongst like the mess of it all. And access to things that you don't even know exist. I think that's the beauty of it.
Exactly.
As well.
Opens your eyes.
Something really personal and bespoke for you, because there's so much art out there.
Well, especially I think, from our experience with what we've worked on, it's finding a piece that tells a story to that, and then there's only so much we can find from just normal sort of looking on the internet, asking who you know. You need you guys to say, okay, actually we've got XYZ who we can bring in, or we know this person there, and you've got all sorts of connections, and it just opens you up, like you say, to so much more than you would have normally.
Yeah, and I think for me as well, coming from an art perspective, it's really exciting to look at a project and say, like, the potential for things to happen is really great. Like, you can create a bespoke artwork that is completely for you. And do something a little bit more engaging and different. And that's pretty amazing. Whereas if you're going into a gallery and picking something off a wall, it doesn't have the same personal touch.
I know exactly what you mean. So where would be a good place to look for art in 2023?
I think the big one at the moment is Instagram, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah.
I think artists especially deal with Instagram very differently. And it kind of becomes almost like a window into their studio space, who they are as people.
Yeah.
You're getting to know their works in progress. It's not a flashy, shiny, curated picture.
Yeah.
And I think that makes you appreciate the art so much more. And I think as well, it's really changing the art market in terms of like really quick, easy, direct conversations with artists as well. There's no in between
to go through anyone.
Yeah.
And it probably opens it up for so many more people as well, doesn't it? Because they can just showcase their own art and then maybe being picked up by someone, or maybe keep trying.
I mean, for us, it's been great in terms of relationships with artists, putting things out there, and you can see so much. We can find so much more art. There's a lot on Instagram at the moment.
What do you think are the key trends for this year as well?
So I think key trends at the moment are abstraction and figuration, and a kind of combo of the two. Similar to what Dee was talking about earlier, I think it really allows you to kind of find the story within the art for yourself, and read into it the way you want to read into it. I mean, I think a lot of people look at art nowadays and think, I don't understand it, I don't know how to access this, and like walk away. But the beauty of abstraction and figuration is that if you find a little pocket of something that reminds you of a memory or a moment in your own history, you can connect to that and create your own story around it. And that makes it more accessible.
Well, for the basics out there, including me, can you just explain more what figuration is?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, figuration will be something that within the sort of distinct figures or aspects of the design can be identifiable. So you might have a portrait, or you might have a scene of, friends enjoying a drink around a table and so on. So there's a higher level of realism. And abstraction is where a canvas perhaps is just structured with form and color that's been depicted in a more loose way. So there you can identify certain elements to it and so on. And something else that's also sort of added to what Bella just said is this: we actually see a love for sculptures, which is really is there. So sort of people are starting to appreciate sculpture a lot, because it is quite, I suppose it's bizarre, because we all love objects in our homes, a vase or a particular sort of piece of from electronics or a speaker. We are surrounded by an object as such. But we actually see people are starting to grow a little bit, fonder of sculpture, of actually placing them on a plinth or placing them on a table. So it's really, really beautiful to actually see that, 3D works and sculptures are becoming a lot more popular. So it's a nice development.
You can see that in interiors as well. This whole shift, where, especially when we're styling somewhere, those are sort of the pieces that you want to be looking out for and putting in, just because they're more interesting and people are actually drawn to them now, I think, rather than, I think there's probably with sculptures and there's probably an old-fashioned thinking of more statues, and people have that mindset about what they are. But now it's like a whole new shift of what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the sculptures, I've read somewhere, and I do apologize, I don't recall the individual who wrote it, but says sculptures create space, they don't take space. And it is a really nice notion that you add something to create something else. And I think that's also across art as well. You're creating space, you create another dimension. And that dimension, again, this is what we are really trying to communicate. It's just it doesn't come with a prescription. It's yours. You're the only individual that actually owns the narrative and owns the work, and it's rightful to have an interpretation of it is the owner themselves, the observer. And for anyone else, you can read a book about it and so on, but it's just what it means to you. And that's really, really nice that art and sculpture, they don't take space, they create space. Like with design as well. I think, the design solution that you see in interior design, you give an opportunity for someone to take advantage of their space and create a new cosmos for them, a new way of actually seeing and living. And I think that's important.
Inhabiting, like activating the space, so to speak. You really start to define it in a different way.
So how can a regular individual fully take advantage of art and putting artwork in their house?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think to start with, work with individuals that will honor you, listen to you, understand you, to understand what their needs are. So I think that the first aid of taking advantage is actually you really improve your well-being. It's just you're creating or you're adding something to your environment that enriches your life. There are loads of studies out there about positive impact on your well-being and productivity. There are a number of companies out there that actually invest in art because they know where employers are in there or where visitors are there. The energy that those works are creating is positive, and it will actually have an impact upon how much they produce. The other component is some of these art pieces actually are, especially from both emerging and established artists, they're investment works. So, they hold their value, and in the event that you actually want to resell it in the future, they can be a positive return. Again, we need to be careful with, that term, because the art market is an unregulated market. Unlike the stock market, it cannot be traced. But there are elements of it that one can actually guess that would be a nice investment as well, a financial, because of course there is the cultural investment too. So I think in one's domestic setting or a company, I think working with a great interior designer firm to actually really make sure that combination is really, really strong. Place it in a space that they can contribute to who they are, and choose it wisely. Because I think when you choose it wisely and you really, really echo who you want to be, what you want to get out of it, then the positive stuff that can come out of it, like endless productivity, and in particular well-being. Well-being is a massive thing, and we do live in challenging times. I think we can all do with something that will actually make us feel better, be inspired, and create a better experience that we can live, wake up to, work, and socialize too.
We mentioned investment, which is actually something I was going to ask you, because obviously the art world is sort of known for people investing and doing very well out of certain pieces. Should you ever prioritise that over aesthetics? I imagine not, but there's probably sometimes that you see emerging artists and think, okay, if someone wants to invest, that's the route they go down, because you get the go ahead on who's coming up, who's hot, who's in trend, basically.
No, absolutely. I think it's a really, really good question. I think it should be a combination between aesthetics, what you look visually, and investment. But I think the investment should be reviewed in a more global way. So it's not just only the financial investment, what will actually add to your life, how you can actually see it. Now, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm not going to name people, that actually have a report upon, buy this, and within 2 years you'll get 100% on your money and your return. I think if you see such claims, stay away. It really is just good advice. If you actually see galleries in particular, they say, you bought this, our buyer bought this in 2019, and now they sold it 60% above what they've actually bought it. It's true, the claim is true, but that doesn't happen across the sector. So I think it is you picking up only one small example to describe the entire field. So I think a good combination will actually be a combination between aesthetics, because you live with the work, and an investment potential. And that's why I think people should work with professionals that will actually really guide them through that journey, and guide them through what is investment, what's not investment, and so on. Obviously prefer us, but if you don't have access to us or anything like that, just really work with someone who will actually be sensible. And I think when you hear too much about financial aspect of art, that is way too confident about the return on investment, keep away.
Defeats the purpose a little bit, I think. There's got to be a happy balance.
Definitely. It's a nice bonus.
Yeah,
if you happen to buy something that does really well, then that's great, but that's not the purpose of it.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of art can people work with in the spaces that they have?
It's a good question. So I'll start. Bella, you can continue. So I think one of the great things that people can actually work with are sculptures. I think, as we've mentioned earlier, people are moving from statues to a more abstract forms of sculptures or installations. There are also a number of 2D or canvas works that they can actually have a sculptural element in terms of how you hang it in the space, can actually become something completely new. So sculptures can be one key family of works that people can actually work with. And then, Bella?
Yeah, I think as well what I was going to say is it speaks to the Tagli as well and who we are. The Tagli is named after Lucio Fontana's works, which are slices through the canvas. And it was all about looking beyond, and beyond the 2D picture plane, basically, with the flat image on the wall.
Yeah. I love that. Dee, you were showing me that last week. It's just such a clever idea.
It's stunning.
Well. Yeah.
And speaks to all the possibilities of what art can be, really.
It's a really clever piece. I like that. I'd love to see, if you can get one in your showroom, that would be great.
We would love that. I think we might, just for special occasion, I think we might be able to do that. But it's fun, like, canvases. Canvases are still incredibly important, and I think we all used to, sort of looking through. Like, if you actually think of your TV, it's exactly the sort of same shape. We're used to that particular input. Imagine now looking at something that has exactly the same surface or the same sort of interpretation. In a way, of course, it's more static, but the sort of the power of it is just yet another screen of meaning. But this time, a meaning that you entirely choose yourself, rather than just having someone throwing info at you that you not necessarily always try to. So, in particular, if we can really, that would be a fantastic idea. Replace your telly
with a Lucio Fontana.
With a Lucio Fontana, or
everybody should.
Wow.
Yes.
And I think
let's promote it.
That would be really, really good. And I think a couple of companies, Samsung have actually tried to do that, where you actually buy a TV and then in the middle time when you actually turn it off, it becomes a canvas.
Yes.
With the really sort of they started, I think the execution could be better because it comes with a set amount of works. It'd be really interesting. What will actually happen instead of a phone, a screen? We can replace that with a piece of work. How more peaceful we will actually be, and how much more relaxed.
It's just completely different. Like you say, it's a static piece.
Yeah.
So we're so used to everything big, so quick. You look at your phone and everything's coming at you. You've got all sorts that you're scrolling through, and then you just have a moment to look at something and actually
look beyond.
Yeah.
Like, think about it.
Start seeing loads of different things or having different thoughts towards it. It's there's so much behind that.
Absolutely.
I think.
I think we live in a world where words such as wellness and happiness and so on are quite good. But I really do think that good art can be a form of a meditation.
Completely.
You look at it, you relax, you engage with it in a way that's completely different. And I think I love telly, I love programs. They're wonderful, and we're not saying we should replace that. But I think in your living space, in the space that you walk in to retrieve, to energize yourself, to relax. What about actually having pieces that will help you to meditate in a more organic way, rather than sitting on the floor and singing mantras? Again, nothing wrong with that. But there are ways that you can actually work with.
I completely agree. I think one thing that reminds me of is like walking meditations and sound meditations and things like that. And for me, looking at a painting is meditation. That's the artist in me. I'm just obsessed. But I think there's a way to look at it and really find that, when you walk down the street and if you're not listening to music or you actually notice things like the wind, you notice conversations around you, you notice different things that you've never seen before. I think a painting can do that for you as well. If you kind of strip back all the distractions, really stare at it.
And Tori, I'd love you to come with us at point. So for our individual clients and people that they sort of they're still at the very beginning of that process, we take them for a discovery safari. So we organize with our clients a walk around London. We're based in London. A walk around galleries, museums, just to actually get them to understand and articulate what they like. Because there's so many ways out there. It's really, really difficult to explore what you like. So we are taking them into spaces. We give them a couple of, I suppose, keywords on how you can actually see that. And you can see their faces opening up. They're lighting up because you do it in a nice, open way that they can actually access art in a completely different way. So we look at them, at the very beginning when we start our safari journey, and at the very end, and they're changed people. They're more relaxed. They actually have a great idea about it. Some are a bit overwhelmed. There's a lot to look at. But at the end, they actually say, now I get it. And they're developing a language and they're developing an aesthetic as to what they really want. So we would love to invite you for a safari to come with us.
I love the sound of that.
And
it sounds as if you need to do meditation classes. You could add that into the mix.
Stop off at the retreat on the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right, so now for the quick fire questions. So this is for both of you or whoever is willing to share. But what would be your biggest design mistake?
I think this one's for Dee.
Right, okay. When I was really, really, really young, okay, disclaimer, going for aesthetics over comfort. I think comfort is incredibly important. So I was really much focusing into the work and what the work is and how it should go into the space. And it was too dominating. Instead of removing the ease, the comfort that actually, great design can actually offer. And we are really, really in agreement that designers and art consultants should work together to provide that balance.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I was, I suppose, paying too much tribute to the art itself rather than actually thinking the space. So that was my big design.
Okay, so nothing too embarrassing.
Nah, nothing.
I think it's like a handbag in a way. You could pick like the big ticket hot item.
Yeah.
But then when it actually comes to wearing it every day, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and you don't actually want that same thing.
No.
That's a good metaphor.
Bella, anything from you? You want to keep quiet on something?
I think I'm going to keep quiet on that one. I plead the fifth.
And go to podcast from either of you or both of you.
My favourite podcast at the moment is the David Zwerner podcast, Dialogues.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, it's a conversation with artists, curators, poets. Definitely recommend.
Great.
Yeah.
Dee?
I think the Lonely Palette. It's an art podcast, and it's really sort of friendly. It's open, and it's democratic. It's really, really open. You can understand whether you've actually been to a museum or you've never been to a museum. So it just allows you to really look at something in an accessible way. The Lonely Palette, I would highly recommend it.
2 to add to the list then.
Yes.
And so since we're recording this around Valentine's, and for all the romantics out there, where would be your go-to in London for a date night? Or a date day?
Okay. Yeah.
We'll open
A
it up
date
to
day, that's
either.
nice. I think we both feel the same about this.
Yes.
I think a great date and a great insight to the person you're going on a date with is a gallery. Just, it gives you an insight into the way they think about things, how open they are, and it means you don't have to look at them 24/7.
That is true. If you're not that keen on them, you're sort of distracted by something else.
Because also, we think about it, you're there to get to know them and then to get to know you. If you're around a dinner table with nothing wrong with that, and you're trying to stuff food into your face, you're trying to have your drink and have a meaningful conversation at the same time.
Yeah.
The intensity is severe, and then also TikTok, they want the table back. Whereas with a gallery, you keep walking, you don't look at each other, and you can have really deep conversations about painting. And if that person actually sees just something death, scare, and something really creepy, just go to the loo and run for your life.
You can escape. You get the deepest thoughts, and you have the opportunity to leave. So
And you have a prompt if it gets awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. And the best bit of news this week that you've heard that people may not have heard.
Yeah, I think again it comes from wellness and well-being. So Australia approved psychedelics and microdosing as a form of actually treating mental health. So psychiatrists can actually prescribe that, which is a really, really sensitive topic about how we deal with well-being and how we actually deal with that. So it's the first nation. And an advanced nation, Bella.
Yeah.
You must be proud
You need
of
to
your
go
nation.
back and try that.
I need to go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to find alternative ways of dealing with mental health, with using organic things, which is mushrooms or anything like that, to really start looking into how you can actually deal with that. Again, we're not advocating of going down firstly for the alternative ways, but we're looking, is there another way of a combination that people can actually enhance their level of well-being while creating a positive change for themselves. So it was interesting that Australia, which is at times a fairly conservative nation.
I would say so.
Yeah, it seems like it most of the time.
Yes, that they've approved such a policy.
Yeah, very surprising for me, to be honest.
Yeah, but maybe they're leading the way in that.
We shall see.
Look at us go.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining. It's been a pleasure having you on. So hopefully we can team up again another time and get you guys on for some more topics.
I would love that. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks to all our listeners. Feel free to send us any questions you'd like to hear on the next podcast. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials, and hopefully you'll tune in next time.